Still in the blackout period.
Okay, let's keep that going.
Still do not have.
Take the ball down. We are still live. All right. Okay. Make sure everything's working. Okay. Okay. So I want to watch the landing of the Artemis 2 mission here first. I still got some stuff to set up over here, so let's just start this. I think it's landing in like 10 minutes or so. Anyway, they'll talk to us throughout this. Working with the stream. Okay, that's working.
We are now processing data from Integrity.
That is working.
Landing and support officer reports the small boats are en route to the splashdown target zone.
Up. Still alive, right? Nothing's moving. Your chat's all activated.
Passing through 150,000 feet, our trajectory is perfect. We're getting intermittent views of Integrity. Still waiting to establish voice communication.
What level do you get voice communication?
Integrity, Houston, comm check, post blackout.
Houston, Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
Your trajectory is nominal, and your recovery teams have visual.
Okay, chat did not.
Guidance looks good.
No action for the enabled internal camera controller fail.
Big cheers from the viewing room here in Mission Control as voice communication reestablished with Commander Reed Wiseman. For America and a waiting world, Integrity is 5.5 minutes away from coming home.
They're already in the atmosphere, right? Or they're in the slowdown phase.
Passing 100,000 feet
Strobe
now.
light. Let me just cover that for.
Range to splashdown 19 nautical miles.
That is not what we want to see here. Can you stop flashing? I'll leave that thing there until it stops flashing. All right, let's check chat again. Okay, chat is now working. There we go.
Integrity impact to the camera controller fail is no cab 1 views of the chutes.
Wait.
Integrity.
Say there's something wrong with the chute?
We're processing good data through the GPS system. A good view of Integrity. Time to splash down 4.5 minutes.
Minutes.
And a view of Integrity from the WB-57. We're at 50,000 feet.
Okay, here we go. I got everything up and working. So when did the chutes come? Because there's like 3 different levels of chutes that gotta open. At least it doesn't look like it's on fire anymore. Like it did when it was at the
pyros are armed for forward bay cover jettison.
Top. Okay. Audio's good. Ooh,
And there go the first series of
the
parachutes.
first set.
And we're on drogues.
And Houston, we're visual 2 drogues out the window.
That's good. That's good.
2 good drogue shoots. Next up,
We copy. We see them.
the deployment of pilot parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
I wonder where the camera's taken.
Perfect descent rate
we're-
according to
we're
Flight
like looking
Dynamics.
down on it
On 2
already.
drogues.
This is another aircraft.
We see the same on board.
We had a much better view from below it. Yeah, here.
Passing through 10,000 feet. Still on drogues.
Like this is it. Everything's been successful so far. Can we land? Second set. They pull the actual
chute deployed.
parachutes.
We're at 5,000 feet.
That one doesn't look like it's opened. Oh, there it goes.
Search and recovery beacon has been activated on integrity.
Oh. Man,
And we
How
have 3
they-
good main chutes.
how they can slow that down? Like the
Good 3
speed-
main chutes. Good
speed
reefing.
it's coming in
descent
at.
rate.
Good rates, and we see 3 good-looking parachutes.
They need parachutes to pull out their actual parachutes. But now it's like coming down really slow.
Integrity. Cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Integrity copies.
This is a perfect descent for integrity. Its crew sounding hale and hearty on board.
We're listening to the actual crew.
Time to splash down 1 minute, 15 seconds.
There it is. 10 days in space, going around the moon. And now it's coming
Integrity
back.
about to complete a journey spanning 694,481 miles from its launch from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st, and a trip around the moon.
Farthest people have ever gone from Earth. Got like thrusters shooting off there or something. Control where it lands.
Passing through 1,000 feet.
Like these are the final shoots, I'm pretty sure. This is the plane that's got the overhead view. And I wonder why they have to have
Houston, Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown. Waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
they hit the return time like within a minute. 6:07 was the
And the
time they
landing
were
and support
expected to get
officer
back.
reports the vehicle is stable 1. We still will be deploying the crew module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A perfect bullseye splashdown for Integrity and its 4 astronauts.
Oh. Which cameras? trip around the.
The unofficial splashdown time, 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m. Central Time. We'll get that refined for you. That would put the end of the mission at a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 31 minutes, 35 seconds.
Wow, they got it down to the seconds. How long it took them to get there and back.
And we're configuring for very low data rate.
Oh, are those the, is that the ships?
Once again, splashdown occurring in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego at 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m.
Integrity Houston, comm check on VLDR.
Like, I imagine they land
Houston,
pretty
we have you
close
loud
to
and clear on
the
VLDR. How
pickup ships.
We have you the same. We'll meet you over in post landing.
Perfect communications established.
A journey. We are stable 1, 4 green crew members.
Houston copies all.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members. That is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means.
No issues.
So stable 1, upright. The crew module uprighting system is being deployed. The 5 airbags being inflated through helium to maintain the upright configuration for the vehicle. This was a textbook entry and a textbook touchdown for Integrity. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen back on Earth after a journey around the moon.
They're going to show more video of it. I kind of want to see them get picked up. Or is that like some other part of the spacecraft dropping? Little balls on top of it. They inflate through helium. I mean, if that's what they need. It does gotta function as a boat the last little bit.
We continue to monitor the functioning of the CMOOS system. The airbags are being inflated to maintain a stable 1 or upright configuration.
Does that mean they'll
There's
get
a good
bigger?
view
if they're
from
being
one of the naval helicopters hovering overhead.
naval helicopters? Getting neat.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members, meaning they're all in excellent shape.
Just bobbing in the water.
Integrity Houston for SAR beacon and radio.
SAR beacon is in for 06, and we're powering the radio now. Go ahead.
We see the beacon on. However, the recovery team is not seeing the signal. Your SAR radio uses the same antenna, so you may run into trouble with the radio.
Okay, copy. And we are also powering up the sat phone now.
The recovery team is not reading the beacon.
So Integrity is in great shape. And as the crew continues its post-splashdown timelined activities on board, Reed Wiseman once again reporting that all 4 crew members are in
Wonder
excellent
why
shape.
there's only 5.
And we
They
have
called
5
out 5.
inflated airbags
There's
to
definitely
maintain
a
an upright
spot
configuration,
for 6.
so that
Complete
the
the
reaction, the recovery team can now begin a slow approach to the vehicle. Meanwhile, here in the flight control room, Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling is polling his team of flight controllers for the start of powering down the vehicle after a thorough systems check. We have no toxic gases to be concerned about, so the recovery personnel can approach the vehicle but not until we have powered down the spacecraft. That's expected to take a few more minutes.
They got to go through like a landing checklist to send. Like that thing essentially, at least the bottom of it is superheated on the way in back into the atmosphere.
Integrity back on Earth following its historic flyby of the moon. It was, for all intents and purposes, a textbook mission.
On 2828, but I'll remain on this frequency.
We copy.
Reed Wiseman indicating some trouble with the SARSAT phone on board. But that's not an issue. What is more important is that the vehicle is solid. No issues as we begin the power down of the vehicle to begin the recovery process.
Yeah, it's not like not being able to pick up the beacon won't mean they won't be able to find them. Get a helicopter, a continuous camera on them overhead. Bobbing in the ocean.
The propulsion officer here in Mission Control reports that we have safed the prop system on Integrity.
Can you say again? That was very weak and broken.
Integrity, Houston did not call.
Oh. They're just getting static.
Copy that, Houston. It might have been on the SAR radio. Stand by.
Oh, now we got a ship from a boat.
All of the milestones were executed in perfect fashion. Integrity entering the Earth's atmosphere right on time, reaching its peak speed shortly after a blackout period began. We emerged from the blackout period, but the recovery imagery airborne assets were able to pick up Integrity's descent almost immediately through entry interface, tracking the vehicle all the way down. And finally, you saw the sequence of chute deployments. First, the forward bay cover being pulled off the top of the vehicle by a series of 3 parachutes. Then the drogue chutes
I see
were
multiple ships coming in around.
deployed, followed by the 3 main chutes that slowed the splashdown velocity of Integrity to just 19 miles an hour.
I wonder how far off the coast this is. Like, could that have just been a passing fishing ship? Being like, yo, what's that bobbing in the water over there?
Integrity, Houston, with no joy on SAR and SAT phone, we'd like you to command an additional 15 minutes for a total of 30-minute power down delay.
It sounds like they're not picking them up right away.
All right, Jackie, we have selected T
They're gonna take 30 minutes to power everything down.
30. No joy on SAR radio or sat phone. And stand by, we have the master diver on SAR radio. Please hold comms.
Hey, Lily. Excuse me. Hey, Jackie, we just got the master diver on SAR.
I not have high high definition cameras. Like this one's much better. Yeah, the
A good
first
view
recovery
of one of the
crafts are
fast
already
boats.
Integrity Houston, if you are happy with your comm with Master Diver, you can go back to the 15-minute power down.
There. Oh, they reduced it back down to 15.
Okay, stand by. Yeah, we'll confirm here in a second.
The crew on board Integrity coordinating with the flight control team in Houston here in Mission Control on the timing of the power down of the vehicle, which will be the precursor to the recovery teams approaching the spacecraft. There are no issues with Integrity. We've had a bit of broken capability in establishing a SARSAT or satellite phone communications capability between the crew on board Integrity and the recovery team. That will get sorted out here shortly. There's plenty of cooling on board Integrity, so there's no rush to begin the power down.
I tried to call you on the sat phone and not getting an answer there either.
I mean, they've got some communications. 'Cause
Concur,
they can
we
still,
haven't had anything come through.
can still speak to them. That's not the sat phone, then what is it?
And Houston, if you could relay to recovery that we hear them, but it does not appear as though they are hearing us.
I've had that on Discord. You got
Houston
yourself
copies,
muted.
And Reed, just to
Unmute
confirm,
yourself.
you are pushing the PTT on the radio.
Unmute yourself. All the ships that are coming in, like you can see when the ships come
So as
closer,
we
that
continue
the
to
thing
sort
starts
out
to
the
rock
communications
more.
between Integrity and the recovery
Because it's
teams,
the wake, the
we
ships
are
that's
standing
causing
by
it.
for the initiation of the power down procedures. That, as you see, the recovery teams are moving towards the side of the capsule. The next major event will be the erection of that large inflatable raft called the front porch. That will be the port of call for the crew as they're being extracted one by one from the vehicle.
Do they do it with the small crafts, or do they have larger craft come up? What if you really gotta
Integrity
go?
Houston, for sat phone, we are going to attempt to call you.
Like they still got
Good idea,
communications
standing by.
with Houston. Ground control.
And Jackie, yes, we are pushing the push to talk, the two buttons on the left side of the radio below the up-down arrows. We are utilizing them. I'm rebooting the radio to see if we get good comms.
Okay, we copy all, and just to confirm, you are seeing that you're touchdown plus 3030 for power, correct?
That's affirmative.
I mean, even if they don't get the satellite phone working, doesn't matter. I mean, if there's an emergency,
we are
they have
trying
the
a backdoor approach to have mission control here
boats
call
there
the crew
already.
on their satellite phone. This all
And
part
more,
of the coordination
like,
for the power
They
down
must have
of the
spread them
vehicle
out
that
over the
will
expected contact area,
initiate the actual
and
recovery
so they're
operation.
slowly funneling back
The
in.
first
where it
boats with the
landed.
Navy divers
start-
on board
You start
are
to see them.
standing by, waiting to close in on Integrity to begin the process of erecting the large inflatable raft that's called the front porch that will be where the astronauts are extracted from so that they can have a few minutes to get their land legs back before they're hoisted aboard the Navy helicopters for the flight back to the deck of the USS
Oh, so
John
that's
P.
what's going to
Murphy.
happen. They're going to put them on helicopters, and that's going to bring them back to the bigger ship, the mothership. Oh yeah,
And
good.
Houston,
good
please don't
close-ups
reply.
over there.
NRD, very weak, but readable. Master Diver,
What
we
is that?
can
Like,
hear,
that's
but they cannot hear us.
5 meters across. All right. That thing's actually pretty tiny, all things considered. They went to the moon in that. I wonder how many systems they have. They needed 3 different sets of parachutes. They go off at different times. They have the stupid helium balloons, which it doesn't look like they needed, but I guess if you're in like bad weather, you might have needed. Can't truly predict the weather.
And Houston,
9 days out when you're
on
sending them.
OE1, is there any chance to tie us into NRD?
Really trying to get the sat phone connected.
Checking.
Ooh, you lose everything. What kind of zoom is this? Zoom, enhance.
This is Mission Control Houston. While we stand by for the establishment of communications between Integrity and the recovery team that is basically standing by very close to the spacecraft, we're going to go to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha, where Megan Cruz is standing by with Administrator Jared Isaacman.
Ooh, we're gonna get to hear about it. Go.
Hey, Rob, yeah, just such an honor to be able to be here on the ship, to be able to share and experience this moment with everyone together. And of course, as you just said, yes, here with NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. Administrator, how did you feel getting to witness this and seeing NASA at its best?
Oh, I mean, I'm honestly, I'm still at a loss for words. I mean, you know, like the childhood Jared right now can't believe what I just saw. I mean, almost been waiting my whole lifetime to see this, and then it's NASA Administrator. I just couldn't be more proud of the entire workforce, the years, the effort, the late nights, all the hard work from across the country that contributed to this incredible moment right now. And yeah, incredibly grateful too for our teams here on the John P. Murtha right now.
Yeah, look at them behind
I mean,
us here.
got everybody. Hey, what do you guys think? We just brought some astronauts back from the moon, huh?
We got to land them next time.
Unbelievable. Thank you. Yeah,
That's
so
the
grateful
next
to
step.
the Navy, the sailors that are here, the NASA teams.
How did
I
they
mean,
do
this
that
is a joint
50
effort
years?
that's on their way right now. These recovery forces are getting out to our Orion spacecraft, to Integrity, to get our astronauts back on the ship safely.
Yeah, and this is not just an accomplishment for NASA. This is an accomplishment for humanity. Again, a historic mission to the moon and back. How does this make you feel, and what do you hope people take away from this?
Well, I'll tell you, I think about the crew members that we've all had an opportunity to observe over the last 10 days, right? I mean, they're absolutely professional astronauts. I mean, wonderful communicators, almost poets. But then I think these were the ambassadors from humanity to the stars that we sent out there right now. And I can't imagine a better crew than the Artemis II crew that just completed a perfect mission right now. So yes, it's a huge moment for everybody, right? I mean, we are back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon, bringing them back safely, and to set up for a series more. I mean, this is not a once in a lifetime, which you hear sometimes around here. It's like, this was a once in a lifetime. No, it's not. This is just the beginning. We're going to get back into doing this with frequency, sending missions to the moon until we land on it in 2028 and start building our base.
Yeah, are we going to build on the momentum for Artemis 3? I mean, it's just around the corner.
Absolutely. So I mean, that's part of me too. Like, I can't wait to get the crew off of Integrity right now, but also getting Integrity back on this ship so we can start taking a look at it, because all that data is so precious to us right now. I mean, we are going to definitely want to take a good look at the thermal protection
That was the purpose
system.
of Artemis 1.
We're going to want to download all the data they couldn't transmit back to us and use that to inform Artemis 3. But we're already making progress, right? You had SRB segments already showing up at KSC. Core stage for Artemis 3 is rolling out on April 20th. we're getting 39, or we're getting Mobile Launcher 1 back in vehicle assembly building. So yes, there is a lot to celebrate right now on a mission well accomplished for Artemis 2, and at the same time, we got to start getting ready for 3.
Amazing. And last question, for people who joined us for all 10 days to see what we can accomplish together with our international partners, what do you think about the fact that we're going to keep doing this more and more and more?
It's incredibly exciting. I mean, yes, it's the contributions, like the best and brightest across the NASA workforce from across the country, our industry partners, our international partners. We had a Canadian Space Agency astronaut on board in Jeremy. We had the European Service Module. And you think, in the days leading up to this launch, 48 hours prior to launching Artemis 2, I was meeting with the Italian Space Agency. We signed a memorandum of understanding to build a habitation module on the moon. I mean, you have countries, all of our allies and partners coming together saying, we are committed to this effort. We are returning to the moon. We're doing it to stay. We are building that enduring presence. We are going to master the skills on the surface of the moon so someday we can undertake missions to Mars. It's just an incredibly exciting time, and we're not going at it alone.
The moon is the next step, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of everyone, one more time, we're going to ask the crew here, you guys ready to land on the moon? Awesome. I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much, Administrator. Appreciate you being here. We're, of course, going to stay on to watch the crew get extracted from Orion, so stay tuned, and we'll see you back here shortly.
How long is that going to take, do you think? They said that they're going to eject the... Is this a part of the...
Thank you, Megan, and thank you,
craft,
Administrator Isaacman.
Front porch thing?
We are in the process of working to establish that communications link and to establish the procedures that will lead to the power down of the spacecraft, which is gently bobbing in the Pacific following a bullseye touchdown that occurred at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, 2.5 hours before sunset in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego. We have once again heard from the crew during that interview opportunity with the administrator, and we have 4 healthy crew members on board.
Oh, it looks like everything's gone off well.
We now have confirmation that the vehicle has been powered down as per the procedures. So we have vehicle powered down, and the flight control team here in Houston, Flight Director Rick Henfling, has handed over mission authority to the Exploration Ground Systems team out in the Pacific. Now, we will physically not get off console with this team until the crew has been extracted into the front porch, that inflatable raft that will be erected along the side hatch of Integrity. So we're standing by for that in the next step in the recovery procedures. But everything is in great shape, and we have 4 healthy crew members on board the vehicle. All of the entry events went by the book, no issues, perfect trajectory for Integrity that was culminated with one final raise burn to improve the angle of attack for the vehicle as it entered the Earth's atmosphere. All of that flight dynamics computation worked like a charm.
I mean, everything's gone off well so far. Had a newly installed toilet that gave him some problems, from what I understand, but nothing like serious. They couldn't figure out. And now they're back. One successful mission.
So we are standing by for the recovery team to approach Integrity and begin the process of erecting that inflatable raft called the front porch.
Sounds like
which will see the crew members be extracted from the hatch of Orion into that inflatable raft before they're hoisted aboard 2 Navy helicopters in a variety of different configurations. Each crew member will be hoisted in sequential fashion, in alternating fashion, 2 crew members for each helicopter, before they turn around to head back to the John P. Murtha. Once on the deck of the ship, they'll be brought into medical bay for comprehensive medical exams. But Reed Wiseman has reported several times that the crew is in excellent shape.
Or at least not right away. It'll probably take, they'll go through medical, which will take them an hour or two probably. You could probably bring cameras in.
So just to recap, it has been some 26 and a half minutes since the splashdown of Integrity in the Pacific. The vehicle is in excellent shape. It performed like a champ all the way down through the Earth's atmosphere. All of the vehicle functions were checked off in excellent trip hammer fashion. The parachutes all deployed as planned. Splashdown occurring at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. And after a bit of a tussle to try to establish a communications link with the recovery team, we were finally able to run through the procedures for the powering down of the vehicle. We've handed over mission authority to the Exploration Ground Systems folks out in the Pacific, and the recovery team will be approaching the vehicle shortly to erect the inflatable raft called the front porch before opening the hatch to Integrity to bring the crew members onto that raft before they're hoisted onto two Navy helicopters, two crew members for each helicopter, before they're flown back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha.
What's splashing around in front of them? Is that like reflection? Looks like something in the water. Just the shiny part of the craft. Well, there's the Navy helicopter. Pass by. Both of them. And where are they taking the camera from? Different Navy helicopter? Ooh. That's a good close-up. Like, these are windows, right? That are shuttered now. Because when they went by the moon, they took images and you could see it, and they had like a viewport of it. But obviously, you're coming back in, and that temperature you're gonna reach. You have to shutter them. Well, I have no idea how much longer it's going to take. I wanted to see them they first leave the capsule. That could be like another 30 minutes away. They do the front porch or whatever. That boat getting closer, or is it just doing a circle? Guy getting bored. Sitting out there waiting. Oh, he's probably one of like.
This is Mission Control Houston.
Camera.
After talking to the Flight Dynamics folks, we have a bit of a refinement on the splashdown time for you. Their computation shows a splashdown time of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time.
It's like 10 seconds.
7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time.
And they got it. So I think I looked at the crash down time this morning.
That would equate
that's pretty much what they
a
gave me.
mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds.
I mean, it doesn't take that long to go.
Once again, from
Little over
Flight
9
Dynamics, a splashdown time of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes,
And
and 15 seconds.
Just overnight. For a trip to the moon. But
Reports
they did
from the Pacific indicate that the recovery team in communications with the crew aboard Integrity, that the crew remains in excellent shape as they await the approach of the team for a final hazard gas evaluation before they move to the side of the vehicle to erect the inflatable life raft called the front porch.
And just being back in gravity after that must feel great.
Again, no issues with Integrity. The vehicle is powered down. All of its systems are now safed. We have handed over mission authority to the Exploration Ground Systems folks in the Pacific, but we will not
Are they going to approach with the
stand
raft?
down and have the entry flight control team depart its positions until that inflatable raft, the front porch, is erected, the hatch open, and the crew having exited the vehicle. So that's the next step in the recovery process that will lead to the hoisting of the crew members. For 2 crew members for each helicopter, they'll be hoisted to a pair of Navy helicopters that will then fly a short distance back to the USS John P. Murtha. What you're looking at is one of the fast boats circling the vehicle to make a hazard assessment.
Making sure there's no like chunks that came off sitting in the water nearby. So they don't have vision, right? Because those are all shuttered. So their method of communication is a sat phone, which is down. They can still reach Houston control, right? Whatever method they had. But they're sitting there without a whole lot of knowledge of what's happening. Yeah, we haven't heard him talk in a while. Ooh, exposure. Adjust. Oh, they switch cameras rather than changing the. Yeah, they've got cameras on sticks down here. Or I assume that's not a camera and it's some kind of like detection tool. Because you see him going up and down like he's scanning for something. So there's got to be like some kind of something that can leak. That they gotta check on first. They don't seem to have found anything. Let's get the front porch out already. See how many people are stay live.
This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, you're watching the initiation of the recovery of the Artemis crew aboard Integrity. All of the Navy divers and the fast boats are now approaching the spacecraft after conducting a hazard assessment. The vehicle has been powered down. Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling now waiting for the life raft, the front porch,
they seem to be checking this part
along the
over
side
and over
of the vehicle so that the hatch can be opened and the crew members extracted from Integrity, soon to be hoisted one by one into a pair of Navy helicopters for a short flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha.
And when they get over here, they don't even...
If you missed it earlier, we talked to Flight Dynamics and received a more official touchdown time or splashdown time, as it were, of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Pacific Time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds.
Yeah, I imagine the this front porch thing's probably decently big. It's probably going to be the bigger craft that comes over. That one. Not positive, so let's just see. Keep circling. Do you think they found something concerning? Oh, as soon as he said that they had changed the mission control from Houston to the people that are here picking them up, that's when we stopped hearing anything from the astronaut. Clearly, they're talking to these guys now. The guy we can hear. He doesn't have access to that anymore. Great, well, it all seems like it's going fine. They've made it back. I don't know how much longer they're gonna take, so I might some other stuff up. Ah, there's another larger boat that came in. Yeah, the little craft that was doing the check is moving away. Other craft moving in, maybe? We're gonna go talk to each other. Back to the moon. 2028, they want to start building the moon base. Everything to go well. I would be excited for a moon base.
Continuing to get excellent views from the imagery assets out at sea in the Pacific of Integrity. We continue to get good reports from the landing and support officer who's in contact with the recovery team that the crew is in excellent shape, no issues. They're just currently biding their time, waiting for the front porch to be erected. We have no hazardous hazard gases and no hazardous situation with the vehicle. It
so they were looking for gases
perfectly all the way down from entry interface to its splashdown in the Pacific at 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time.
These guys with the front porch Ooh, look
And
at
as
that
you can
team.
see,
That's a much larger
the
team than the
first
stick team.
phalanx of recovery personnel now
That looks
pulling
like
up alongside
the team trying to get him
of
out.
Integrity. This includes Navy divers, a Navy flight surgeon, and other recovery personnel who have trained for several years for this recovery process.
Have contact. So there's clearly like a hook or something that they've got to attach this inflatable thing to.
At this hour, some 41 minutes following splashdown, the vehicle has been powered down. There's no hazardous gas emanating from the vehicle. That's why the first team of recovery personnel has been able to pull alongside Integrity. And the reports continue to come in that the 4 astronauts are in excellent shape.
Well, I'm going to be back in a minute. Looks like they're they might be doing this really soon. Kind of want to watch it now. Okay, I'm just going to grab a drink. I'll be right back. I'll leave this up.
Yes. This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to watch the initiation of the recovery of Integrity's astronauts. One by one, they'll be brought out of the spacecraft onto a large inflatable raft just a short time from now. In the meantime, we can go back to the USS John P. Murtha, where my colleague Megan Cruz is standing by to provide her situation report. Megan, can you hear us?
They inflating anything yet? No, this could still take a while.
Hey, Rob. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Yeah, we're back here on the bow of the recovery ship where there are still plenty of people peering out into the water. We are not very far from the action.
All right,
Everyone
I'm going to move on.
I'm
going to leave this open.
The Orion spacecraft Integrity.
Mute it because I want to keep checking back in on this because this is awesome. All right, let's a couple other videos I wanted to check out. Okay, I'd started watching.
Strange going on with the American.
Wanted to watch this one on stream. Good. The American job market is collapsing. Subscribe.
There's something strange.
Different account. Oh, No, I need this. That's how I cut it. Maybe. Okay, so that's the last image. All right, let's watch this one. America's job market is collapsing by Max Fisher.
Going on with the American economy I want to show you. On one hand, the stock market is soaring, and not just stocks. Gold, bonds, GDP. The economy is booming.
Stock market has been rising. Americans have more money in stocks than ever before.
Another record high. Not bad, huh?
The stock market has gained almost $3 trillion in value since the election.
You smell that? What is that?
What?
What's that smell? I smell money.
So the job market must be good too, right? That's how that works, right?
And hiring has slowed.
Cut tens of thousands of jobs.
Job market. Nobody can find a job. This is a thing called the hiring rate. It's basically how many people as a share of the total workforce get hired every month. And you can see it's way down. The last time it was this low was for a hot second in the early pandemic, but the last time it was sustained.
Hiring rate over time. And so what I think has happened here is, let's just, if we draw a line through this, you'll say the hiring rate is usually a little below 4. 3.8 or like 4 is the average hiring rate in a healthy economy. COVID came in, saw a massive decrease, a massive increase. Then if 4 is average, look at that sustained increase right after. During COVID, right after COVID, massive sustained increase in hiring. This is when interest rates plummeted, money became cheap. A lot of people saw cheap money, they hired. Now we have interest rates returning to a more normal level. And so you're going to see, as it flipped above the 4, you're going to see a flip below the 4. To kind of equal it out, because overhired when the money's cheap, now the money's not cheap. You got to return to normal, but you also have to deal with the overhired, which is going to be a lot more people being fired.
At this level was at the low point of the global financial crisis that melted down the entire world. America is in the middle of a huge jobs crisis. If you have a job, you're probably okay, and you might not even know that anything is wrong. But if you find yourself needing to get a job, it is like the Dust Bowl out there. But remember, judging by the stock market, the economy is good. Like, let's put that chart we just looked at, hiring rate, on top of a chart of the stock market. I just put this together on the Fed website. It's nothing fancy. That bottom line is the hiring rate, and top is the stock market. It's weird, right? So what's going on here? It makes more sense if you see what happens if you actually go online and try to find a job. Imagine I'm a new graduate, or I move cities.
I like it when people do this, when they actually like go out and show the experience people are having.
Or I got laid off, whatever it is, something came up, I need a job. LinkedIn, what do you got for me? All right, let's try searching writer job. I'm a writer, search writer, and let's look New York City metropolitan area. What do we got? Here we go. Okay, Condé Nast, writer, that's good, 95,000. That could be better. Posted 2 weeks ago, wow, over 100 people applied. Duolingo, okay, that's kind of fun. $153,000 a year, that's a little low for a big tech company. Posted 2 days ago, wow, over 100 people applied. LinkedIn stops counting applications after 100 people for whatever reason, I guess to not discourage you. So I apply for this job. I am up against at least 100 other people and maybe a lot more than 100 people, which means my odds of getting it statistically are worse than my odds of getting into Harvard. So, okay, let's look for a lower salary. Maybe that will help cut down on this competitiveness a little bit. Games associate writer at the New York Times. Only a week ago, over 100 people applied. Okay, you know what? We're gonna try a job that's a little bit more in demand. We're gonna try marketing. It's not what I went to school for, but times are tough. All right, what do we got? Okay, grocery store in New Jersey, associates category manager. I don't know what that is. It doesn't list a salary. It was posted a week ago and over 100 people have applied. Okay, Google.
A lot of this is the new way of getting hired. Just kind of like flood the field. Apply to anything and everything and only really look at the job once if they get back to you, get a response. That's the first time you read the job description.
Posted 1 day ago, over 100 people applied. This is a nightmare. There's nothing out there. I need to settle. I need a job. I'm gonna search barista. I'm not too proud. The thing is, you know, I need healthcare. If nothing else, I need healthcare. I'm gonna filter by medical insurance benefits. Whoa, look at that. It cuts down from 440 results to only 18 with it. Okay, sorry guys, I didn't realize it was super greedy that I wanted healthcare. What do we have? Barista at Joe and the Juice 6 days ago, 50 people. So yeah, like I said, brutal out there. Okay, this is the crisis. There are no jobs, very few jobs, and so many people looking for jobs, which means every listing out there gets a zillion qualified applicants. You could spend all day, every day firing off applications for jobs you're overqualified for and still never get an interview. And that is exactly the trap that millions of people are stuck in right now. And that number is growing every week, even though the economy is supposedly good right now. Well, we are gonna get to the bottom of why this is happening, why you and so many others can't find a job. Because this turns out to be much bigger than just jobs. There is a deeper thing here that is affecting everyone, whether you're looking for a job or not, and in ways you are probably not aware of, that reveal a lot about why our economy isn't working.
Okay. That sounds good. Get into it.
Hey everyone, just wanted to cut in here with a quick heads up that we actually recorded this before the Iran war melted down the global energy economy. So if you're watching the intro thinking, hey, it's weird he's not mentioning the Iran war, that's why. But everything that you're about to hear still applies, still true, actually even more so, because these deeper trends that we are about to explore have all been building for months or years, and the Iran stuff is just amplifying them. Okay, that's it. Now the video.
This story is eventually going to tell us where this strange, quiet crisis is taking all of us, what our future looks like, and that means understanding our present, what it means to have an economy that is good and bad at the same time, right? Good in the sense of the numbers going up and bad in the sense of there being no jobs. And we're going to talk about why it has got Trump facing a borderline existential dilemma where he has to choose between jobs on the one hand or some of his highest priorities as president on the other.
Well, he's clearly not going to choose jobs.
But first, we've got to answer a more pressing question. Who took the jobs away?
Who took the job? So, there's going to be things like AI that clearly it's taking some jobs. I don't think it's taking as many as people think, but it's clearly altering and taking some jobs. There's going to be I think a big one is the overhiring that I brought up earlier. Back when interest rates were low, you had a mass overhiring, and so you're now seeing a correction to. So there's just less jobs. Like if you bring your interest rates down to 0, there's magically more jobs because money is cheap. So people can create kind of like crappy jobs or jobs that are not as productive. But then as soon as the money is no longer cheap, you gotta got to slim down jobs that are not making actual value.
This is the US labor market. Each one of these is a job, and imagine there are like 160 million cards. And this is a worker. In a healthy economy, you've always got a few empty jobs and a few people who are looking. Look at that, another hire. But we're not in a healthy economy, right? So we're gonna use all this to show why. What is it that's taking these jobs away? And it's actually a few things that are all happening at once. So let's start with an obvious one. AI. Everyone is worried about AI displacing human jobs. The truth is, so far,
I mean, all you have to do is look at the Waymos. Know that that's gonna happen.
this might be more a worry than a reality, though. This is a study by the Federal Reserve looking into this, and it found that mostly companies aren't adjusting headcount for AI, which is to say cutting jobs. A small proportion of service firms do say they're reducing headcount for AI, but others say they're actually increasing hiring for AI work. So it seems like AI is, so far, not directly displacing a ton of jobs, just a few. But let's come back to this because there is much more going on here than meets the eye. Okay, another big one. Tariffs.
I'd like to see the chart
yeah.
of you.
This is all in the US, right? I guess even in Canada, the tariffs are applied to us. See a decline in jobs just because tariffs acted as an inhibitor. That's kind
Have
of
it.
what
That's
does.
tariff charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers.
Tariffs were supposed to bring back jobs by forcing factories to relocate to America from places like China and India. Here's Howard Lutnick, the Trump official in charge of tariffs.
Remember, the army of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones, that kind of thing is going to come to America.
What tariffs actually did was
Like that's not really the kind of job you want. I mean, screwing in little screws, that's something a machine does really well. I don't see that job coming
force
back.
manufacturers already in America, like this TV factory, to shut down or to move their factories out of the US. According to this industry report on manufacturing,
What was that last one?
out of the US.
6 major companies exit U.S. market mid-term tariff turmoil. So, are tariffs having the opposite effect? Are Donald Trump's tariffs increasing the number of jobs in America or decreasing the number of jobs in America? Did I click off? Oh no, there. What a thing.
US. According to this industry report on manufacturers leaving the US, 1 in 5 international firms has exited the country since tariffs went up, and they're taking those manufacturing jobs with them. The reason that this is happening is because any business needs to import parts and raw materials.
Yes.
Factories import rivets and rubber and machinery. Construction companies import.
The whole manufacturing industry is so globalized that introducing a tariff can't, it's not that you can't make everything in your country, it's that there's so many parts come from so many places that very hard to do all of that inside your country and do it at a low enough cost that you can keep the end product at a low cost, especially for like complex manufacturing, building a house or a car. Tariffs are always just going to be a massive inhibitor to that. So he's saying that firms are leaving because if you're inside the US market, you're not a part of the global market because of tariffs, because of the tariff barrier. So it's actually advantageous for people to leave the US, set their factory up somewhere else, because that they get access to the global market rather than the increasingly isolated US market. As big as the US market is, the global market is larger, significant. So asking, Donald Trump's tariffs have been associated with a net decrease in U.S. jobs, particularly in manufacturing and sectors based on economic data analysis from both his first term and early second term. While tariffs can protect specific industries by raising the cost of competing imports, the broader effects higher input costs for downstream manufacturers, retaliatory tariffs from trading partners, reduced exports, supply chain disruptions, and economic uncertainty have outweighed any protected job gains in empirical studies. Okay, I go into the ones I'm more interested in. Let's just go down here. Why net job losses occur. Protected gains versus border costs. Tariffs help import competing producers but raise costs for firms using those imports as inputs. Retaliation reduces U.S. exports hitting exporters and their suppliers. So this is if you are a company inside the U.S., tariffs, your inputs just increased in value. Depending on your inputs, it may be more effective to take your factory it somewhere else in the world so that your inputs don't increase in value. Output then has to go through a tariff to be sold to the US. But that kind of comes down to like a cost benefit. How much of your inputs are you getting from outside the US? Compare that to the tariff you'd have to pay for just sending the end product to the US. There are so many ways that it becomes economically more valuable. That a tariff will make it economically more valuable to move your company outside of the US. Okay, next one. Uncertainty in investment. Firms delay hiring, less capacity spending amid policy volatility. I mean, like, all business, all industry, it runs on certainty, right? That's like the most important thing for it. Any kind of uncertainty will cause problems. Tariffs are very big uncertainty. Macro effects, higher prices, reduce real incomes and demand. Manufacturing is on 8% of approximately 8% of the U.S. employment, limiting any renaissance potential even if the trade deficit narrowed moderate. So the industry he's trying to grow with tariffs is only 8% of the economy. Factories are important to have. Tariffs can also make factories leave. Long-term structural trends, automation, productivity shifts dominate manufacturing. Declines over decades. I mean, manufacturing jobs have been going down for a long time. Fact is, machines are getting better at manufacturing. They're only going to get better at manufacturing. Any growth in manufacturing is from an expansion, like more production rather than same production. You're always going to get less people as technology progresses. But tariffs have not reversed them and appear to have exacerbated short-term weaknesses. The tariffs aren't even doing what they're supposed to. Analysis across sources there constantly show the net effect as negative on jobs. Even if revenue rises on specific strategic goals are partially met. Outcome depends on tariff scope, retaliation exemptions, and concurrent policies. Early 2025-2026 data aligns with 2018 findings rather than diverging, delivering promised manufacturing boost. Short, while tariffs create visible winners and protected niches, the dispersed costs, especially via inputs, retaliation, and uncertainty, have led to fewer overall American jobs, according to the weight of economic evidence. About how many jobs have been lost because of Donald Trump's 2025 tariffs? Can you give me just a rough estimate? No, there's no way to know, but let's see what it comes. See what it estimates.
Or lumber, tile, even restaurants import ingredients, tomatoes. About half of US imports are just the stuff that goes into American made products. And tariffs make
half of imports are the stuff that goes into American product, which means companies inside America, half of their inputs come from outside of America.
All of that more expensive. So American businesses that might have spent money on hiring now have to spend it on tariffs instead. Or they might even have to close, as many have, which is how you get this. Job losses.
Ooh. Year-on-year change in U.S. manufacturing and so they had significant manufacturing employment gain. When did Trump, he didn't come into office till like, been a little over a year. So this has been happening for a while. 2023 wasn't that long. Look at those numbers. All right, let's hear what he's got to say.
In every part of the manufacturing economy. This is a big one, tariffs. It's where we start to see how these burdens on the labor market hold back everyone. All of these people who would have gotten that job in engineering or construction, except that job no longer exists because of tariffs. Now those people are competing for these remaining jobs, which means everyone else who is already looking for a job now has a harder time getting that job that might have been gettable a year ago because there's all of that new competition. Which brings me to another big culprit, mass government layoffs.
Oh. This is something that I hadn't considered. I guess this is the US. In Canada, they are doing government layoffs, my understanding. But I think they're like reducing the workforce by 10% over 4 years. All that mass layoffs is a bit of an exaggeration. And they're trying to do it by essentially early retiring people rather than actual layoffs. Let's see if we can get a number. Rough estimate for jobs lost in the U.S. due to Trump's 2025 tariffs. Liberation Day. Center on manufacturing sector losses of roughly 70,000 to 110,000 in the month following implementation. Multiple reports. See the wider economic, because that's not nothing, but it's also not huge. Go back to its chart. Can I see that chart? Chart. Like yearly change in all of these sectors combined. So that's 100,000. Like this is a year, so it looks like there's about 12. So this is monthly data. So they're losing 80,000-ish a month. Combine all these sectors. It's terrible. And these are even the sectors that are adding jobs. At all, computer, machinery, chemicals. I don't see like healthcare. Healthcare is usually one that I try and find. Let's read wider economic effects. Kansas City Fed analysis suggests tariffs may have reduced overall monthly job growth by an average of 19,000. Potentially adding 0.1 percentage points to unemployment. Monthly job growth. Implementing cumulative effect in the low hundreds of thousands over several months when factoring in slower hiring across import-dependent industries. Models like let's just go to the end. In short, a reasonable ballpark for tariff attributable manufacturing job losses through late 2025, early 2026 is around 80,000 to 100,000 with total economic wide effects, including indirect hiring, slowdowns, likely in the low to mid hundreds of thousands. Outcome vary by exact time frame, data revision, concurrent policy. The tariffs just seem to have been horrible.
Remaining jobs, which means everyone else who is already looking for a job now has a harder time getting that job last spring.
Government cuts.
The chainsaw for bureaucracy.
And then also from the government shutdown in the fall. The federal government is the country's biggest employer. But in just a few months last year, that one employer dropped 271,000 jobs.
That did significantly more than even in the tariffs.
That alone is equivalent to 1/10 of the losses from the entire 2008 global financial crisis. And these pushed out federal workers aren't just in DC. They're in absolutely every state. And they work in basically every white collar field, which means, again, if you're trying to get a job in counting, sales, or marketing, or really anything in an office, you are suddenly competing with a few 100,000 former federal workers who just got displaced from the federal government for that same job. So now it's a lot harder to get this one job because of all of that competition. Just one more that we have to talk about. Look, all you really need to know, I know this is a big, boring white building. All you really need to know is that there's this thing called the Federal Reserve.
So is this the one where interest rates low, job go up, interest rates high, job go down? Pretty much.
And they set this thing called interest rates. And interest rates determines how much you pay when you borrow money to buy a house, purchase a car, or start a business. Interest rates have been high for a few years now. That's deliberate. They made interest rates high so people would borrow less money and would therefore spend less money, which means there would be less inflation. But the downside.
Interest rates high, people borrow less, they spend less. That cools the amount of money trying to purchase goods. That is a decrease. High interest rates, low inflation. Low interest rates, higher inflation.
Is that if someone wants to borrow money now to start a business or to expand a business, it's more expensive to do that. And as a result, they cannot hire as many people.
So high interest rates, less jobs.
This is where we need to zoom out because each one of these on their own is bad enough, right? You see them blocking out jobs, so there's fewer jobs and more people competing for the existing jobs. But the real story here is in how these things all interact with one another to create a perfect storm of job suppression. Remember this guy we just saw with Trump? That's Jerome Powell, the big boss at the Federal Reserve, which sets interest rates. Here he is in December.
If you get away from tariffs, inflation is in the low twos, right? So it's really tariffs that's causing most of the inflation overshoot.
Tariffs make everything more expensive. That's the main thing that they do. It is a 10 to 20% tax. What he's saying is that if it weren't for tariffs, he could cut interest rates, which would let businesses borrow money to hire more people.
So if you could cut interest rates, if you cut tariffs, get rid of tariffs, let's just do it like this, get rid of tariffs, then you can cut the interest rates, and that gets rid of literally 2 of the factors reducing jobs just by removing the tariffs.
But he can't because of tariffs. And all of that additional spending equals inflation. So tariffs lock in inflation, and inflation locks in high interest rates. Tariffs, inflation, interest rates. Even if that hurts jobs. I'll let Jerome explain.
The situation is that our 2 goals are a bit in tension, right? So, interestingly, everyone around the table at the FOMC agrees that inflation is too high and that we want it to come down, and agrees that the labor market has softened and that there's further risk. Everyone agrees on that.
Jerome is saying tariffs force us into this impossible situation. He can fight inflation by setting high interest rates, but he can't push rates as high as he'd want because high rates bring inflation down by slowing the economy, and that hurts jobs.
But right now, you've got this difficult balance, and there are risks to both sides. There's no risk-free path. If it was just inflation and the labor market was just really strong, and then rates would be higher.
He chose sort of this middle path, but he made clear jobs would have to suffer to keep down inflation from tariffs.
We're committed to 2% inflation, and we will deliver 2% inflation.
So you see how having tariffs,
because that's their goal. That's what they're supposed to do. Having tariffs that are high for an extended period of time, very bad. Economy is still suffering from COVID, when there was the spike in inflation right after COVID that continued for a while. That is all just additional cost and pressure on the economy. You don't want to get back there.
And high rates and inflation creates this perfect storm where they all make each other worse and block out a ton of jobs.
Let's pause here so I can tell you about something cool I learned from the folks at Henson Shaving. What? Don't give me that look. I shave parts of my face. My entire life, razor companies have been trying to sell me on more and more blades. But it turns out that more blades does not mean a better shave. The plastic razor doesn't properly support them, so the cutting edge fluctuates, and the result is irritated skin and more plastic waste. Henson Shaving wanted to solve that problem by using techniques borrowed from aerospace engineering to build razors with a blade exposure less than the thickness of a human hair, thereby removing any flex from the blade, which results in a gentler shave. And they're offering our viewers 100 free blades with the purchase of a razor by going to hensonshaving.com/thebiggerpicture using the code THEBIGGERPICTURE. Link and offer code are also in the video description below. Not bad, right? Now let's get back to our video.
Okay. So I've never tried like one of the Henson razors, but I tried like one of the knockoff brands of Henson. In my opinion, more blades does equal a better shave. That's my opinion. That's my experience. Let's continue.
Another big connection here. Interest rates again and AI. Remember, I said we'd come back to this report saying that companies aren't replacing people with AI. And it seems like that's true. Like the data backs that up. But there is something that data leaves out. This is a story in The Atlantic last year by the writer Derek Thompson, who argued that AI might be competing with new college graduates.
The other thing is, with the advancements of AI, kind of get into this situation where, a lot of times, firing people does not look good. And so even if AI isn't doing this job right now, you might not want to hire a person for it because it's within the scope that AI will be able to do. And you don't want to have to hire someone and then have the backlash of firing them. You would just leave the position empty until the AI can fill it.
Or people trying to get their first job, which is why it didn't show up in that report. Like law firms using AI to pick up any extra paralegal work instead of hiring a new paralegal to do it.
Because remember, high interest rates make it too expensive to hire.
Or maybe there's a consulting company that hires 5 new people where previously they'd have hired 20 because those 5 can now use AI to do entry-level work more efficiently. Which means instead of AI displacing existing jobs, it might be taking the place of new jobs, which would help explain why the job market for new graduates is the worst it's been relative to what it's like for other workers in decades. So we're going to call this relationship here between interest rates and AI chatbot workers. And what they're maybe blocking out here are entry-level jobs, the kind of thing you would have gotten just out of school if not for those chatbots. And the reason that I'm attaching this to interest rates is because the slow economy plus high rates means that companies are usually desperate to save money by using, let's say, one person with a chatbot in place of what would have otherwise been 2 jobs. Okay, another AI-related thing, and one that you might not think of as deleting jobs, data centers.
Meta continuing its massive investments in AI, this time in the form of compute power, announcing 2 new major AI data centers.
Data centers don't exactly have a lot of people working at.
Here's the deal. Investment in data centers is like the entire US economy right now. $3 trillion so far. And partly this is about people thinking that AI is going to be huge, but it's also about tariffs. Tariffs make it harder to turn a profit in industries that import or export, which is like basically every industry. So what's happening is the entire economy is investing every extra dollar it has that normally would have gone into those healthy.
I got another question. Why is Donald Trump using tariffs and not subsidies to try and bring manufacturing back? You don't think I'm real? Was it already answering? Donald Trump preference for tariffs over broad subsidies to revive U.S. manufacturing stems from a mix of ideological, practical, strategic, and political considerations. His America First approach emphasizes punishing unfair foreign competition while rewarding domestic production without what he views as excessive government spending or corporate welfare. Like in certain important industries, I think subsidies are important. We see this. China massively subsidizes their EV production. And that's why Chinese EVs are so ubiquitous, like everywhere. Not in Canada and the US because have high tariffs on them at the moment, but in all other parts of the world, you want an EV, it's BYD. Even I know the name of a corporation that's doing it. That's all because it's so massively subsidized by the Chinese government. That's kind of what you do, right? Like, this happens everywhere. You bring a product to market, make the value of the product so good to the customer that they'll use your product. And by making the value to the customer so good by essentially subsidizing it, giving it to the customer cheaper than it should be, make it so that nobody else can enter the market. So you subsidize it, it allows you to capture the market. You capture the market, shitify to make. And so that I assume this is exactly what the Chinese government is trying to do in the EVs, massively subsidizing, trying to capture the market, then they'll make their by probably raising prices or making their product significant in shitification. So to compete in EVs right now, basically has to subsidize. Because China's in the capturing the market stage for EVs. Why not broad subsidies? Ideological opposition to picking winners via spending. Subsidies involve direct government expenditure, which Trump and often portray as inefficient, prone to waste, or benefiting specific companies rather than broadly incentivizing market-driven decisions. Tariff shifts costs towards importer/foreign producers. Fiscal and political framing. Subsidies expand government outlays and can size socialism. Cronies. Negotiation leverage. Tariffs serve as a bargaining tool to force better trade deals. How's that been going? Reciprocity or concessions from partners, something directly. Direct subsidies don't. Get back to it.
The industries into AI and specifically to a part.
Okay, I've missed it. What's this new card he's got now?
Basically every industry. So what's happening is the entire economy is investing every extra dollar it has that normally would have gone into those healthy industries into AI, and specifically to a part of the AI economy that is resilient to tariffs because it doesn't involve that much importing or exporting, which is data centers. And specifically to a...
So data centers are a more lucrative investment because it is not at the whims of tariff. Is it something built here, built within the country?
Part of the AI economy, data centers, that is resilient to tariffs. So the capital that might have gone towards starting a factory or a call center or a magazine is going towards giant humanless rows of high-priced processors instead. So I said before, this is posing a big dilemma for Trump, one that is putting a lot of the top priorities of his entire presidency at risk.
Okay, so he's switched now. So these are the factors that he sees as majorly impacting jobs. Tariffs? Yeah, I see that for sure. Basically just a tax that makes your own businesses less globally competitive. You got to be careful with tariffs. Government cuts. Yeah, you're just firing people you otherwise have hired. Interest rates, high interest rates, less jobs. Inflation. Yeah. Inflation cost. Okay. Chatbot, because of higher interest rates, want to try and hire less people, try and use AI in place of people. Data centers. Yep. Wow, why was inflation causing? Big thing with inflation. 16. Holding up that one. I want him to hold up.
For tariffs, he could cut interest rates, which would let businesses borrow money. So, tariffs lock in inflation, and inflation locks in high interest rates.
Oh, so it's essentially the factor that's making both of these worse.
Tariffs, inflation.
Tariffs cause inflation, which forces the interest rates.
Interest rates. Even if that hurts jobs, electromics of high-priced processors instead.
Time illegal aliens.
His entire presidency at risk. It has to do with what Trump says is the solution to the jobs crisis.
At the same time, illegal aliens stole American jobs.
This is a speech President Trump gave in December about the economy. Too many immigrants, he said, are crowding out the job market. So we have to get those immigrants out.
For the
okay, 1 second. Ooh, they're on the craft. Not saying anything. Guessing those are our 4 astronauts. Let's go. They're back. I'm gonna leave that playing.
The first time in 50 years, we are now seeing reverse migration as migrants go back home, leaving more housing and more jobs for Americans.
There's a certain intuitive, if ruthless logic to this, that if you remove enough foreign-born workers from the labor pool, like this, let's say this is a foreign-born worker, then native-born workers, this guy, can take those jobs for themselves. That's the idea. But are they right about this? Is that actually how this works? And one way to find out is by looking at what happened to the job market in prior rounds of mass deportations.
Even as we are a nation of immigrants,
sounds like a good idea.
We're also a nation of laws.
This is President Obama in 2011, announcing what would become a huge deportation campaign.
Deportations of criminals are up 80%.
Remember, this was during the global financial crisis. Job scarcity was a huge issue. So did deportations help? Did more native-born Americans get jobs because of deportations? Well, some economists looked into exactly that question.
Okay,
they analyzed the
this is what economists should be doing.
500,000 deportations in the country, which have been rolled out in stages county by county. And they tried to identify patterns in what happened after these deportations took place. And what they found is that the employment rate among citizens, among native-born Americans, actually dropped. The reason for this is something called complementarity, which means that jobs mostly done by immigrants complement those mostly done by citizens. Here.
Okay, let's hear his description first.
We'll use the board to show this. What I'm going to do is
the first thing that came to my mind is if you have a job, like let's say you have an immigrant or an illegal immigrant that does farm work, right? Well, now you have a farmer plant a specific type of crop that he wouldn't be able to plant because he couldn't get Americans to do that specific type of farm labor. Because like the price, you can pay illegal immigrants less, essentially. Therefore, you can harvest certain types of crops normally exist in America if you didn't have access to essentially underpaid labor. I'm not sure any of that's good, but that does then create a farming job to plant that sort of crop, which is a job that an American citizen could do. Creating an American job by having the immigrant, essentially. Let's hear his description. I'm sure he's put a lot more thought into it than I did.
Mark off some of these jobs that are just like manual labor jobs that are done predominantly by immigrants, like construction. So, okay, bear with me one second. Okay, so this over here, this is immigrant.
Doesn't still have construction jobs even if you don't have immigrants. Just you usually got to pay them more.
Labor. These are jobs that are predominantly done by immigrants. Things like manual labor or construction is a really big one. And what happens is that when you take these workers away, let's say because you conduct mass deportations that remove many of them from the country, what you think is going to happen is citizens are going to take those jobs, but actually they don't. Citizens do not take those jobs. It's because these jobs tend to be strenuous, long hours, dangerous, they give you back and joint problems. Look, I don't blame people for not wanting them. But what it means is that, number one, you do not...
Like, they don't want them for the price being offered. People will do basically any job if the price is right. But certain jobs to be done at scale need a certain price.
not have more jobs going to citizens. And number two, construction firms, companies that predominantly employ immigrants, face big labor shortages, which means that those companies have to cut back. And what that leads to is the loss of complementary jobs. Job over here held primarily by citizens like foremen, architects, accountants, jobs that are held by native-born workers who might have a college degree, might have a high school degree, because the firms that employ them no longer exist because they've lost those construction workers. Those economists that I mentioned earlier found that in all, mass deportations in any particular area, regardless of where it was, reduced employment among citizens by about 0.75% wherever those deportations took place. That's more than 1 million jobs actually that got lost just because of the native-born workers whose employers could no longer employ them because they lost that immigrant labor.
Ooh. Like, you think the market would correct? Yes, if you have immigrants that work these long hours for low pay, it'll create some jobs, but does that, the immigrant jobs really ones? Oh, I see the effect happen, but if you don't allow this situation, I think the market corrects itself. Because there's always going to be a demand for construction. So if construction has to raise their prices to pay people to get citizens working those jobs, then that's what's going to happen. It would probably lead to an increase in construction costs in this case. But the construction will still be there. So I see how this works and how this removes jobs. I don't really know if that's I think you'd see corrections in that market. It doesn't make it a big as a job loss, but the data says that if you remove immigrants, you also reduce the citizens' jobs as well. So Trump right now is in the middle of a massive deportation swing or kick or whatever. And so that is going to lead to a decrease in the supportive jobs, which is just another factor along with all the others on the board.
To put this another way, the economists found that for every 100 undocumented immigrants kicked out of the labor market, about 12 citizens lost their jobs too. And economists say that the impact of Trump's deportations could be even more severe by collapsing whole industries like childcare and construction, potentially eliminating the jobs of 2.5 million native-born workers, including over 800,000 just in construction. You work in a field related to construction, anywhere from an architect to a site manager, you could be in big trouble. So this is all to say that Trump's big solution for the jobs crisis, deportations, is actually not only making it worse, but one of the biggest drivers of joblessness that we have in the country. Same thing goes for tariffs. Remember, tariffs are supposed to turn America into a nation.
That also covers this one. I wonder, in Canada, like, I've been hearing a lot of things about job decreases as well, because some of these don't really affect us, like, but tariffs definitely do. That's forcing us with honestly, like in Canada, we basically have this whole same mess right now. Government cuts a little less, tariffs, obviously they affect us a little less, but I mean, we're such a large trading partner. Most of our stuff, USMCA and CUSMA agreement, what I understand, most of it is still actually tariff free, so this is smaller for us. But that's forcing interest rates high. So a lot of this circle is also happening in Canada, but on a lesser degree. We don't have a big deportation thing going on right here now, so we don't have that issue on the job market. If anything, they seem to be bringing in more immigrants. From what I was reading.
Of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones.
But what it did instead was cause American businesses to cut back or close. This is what I mean by Trump's dilemma on jobs.
Take a look here. Trump's net approval rating on jobs, they go from +7 way down off the screen to -30 points.
He knows his poll numbers are dropping hard, largely over the economy. And look, maybe he really believes what he said in December, that the economy is actually good, and it's good because of tariffs and deportations. But the truth is that the job market is down in large part because of those two things, which means that Trump, whether he knows it or not, is facing a choice between upholding what are two of his highest priorities for his entire presidency, deportations and tariffs, or giving up on them in order to maybe salvage the job market and therefore his odds of holding onto Congress in the midterm elections later this year. This is the dilemma that could very well decide how the entire second half of his term goes. So far, Trump is holding the course, and as his poll numbers get worse as a result, I don't know. I expect that this question of which course they want to take will get raised within the White House. This is actually a good moment to take a step back and ask how all of this can represent, like we said at the start of the video, an economy that is both obviously, in a lot of ways, quite bad, but in others, like the stock market, seemingly, weirdly, pretty good. Let's actually take a look at that stock market.
Okay, here we go.
This is the S&P 500, which is roughly synonymous with the stock market. It's crushing it, right? Okay, but look at it this way. That top line is just the top 7 tech stocks.
S&P 493. Really? Look at that. And from what I hear, a lot of these big tech companies, they'd created these cycles of trading money between them, and the foundation is weak. They're like cutting back the expected investments in a pretty large way recently. So like that's scary.
Which are going gangbusters versus that second line on the bottom, the rest of the stock market, which is looking pretty flat. This is the first hint of the larger thing that's going on here. There is all of this economic activity happening right now, and there's a lot of people getting rich off of it. And not just like tech billionaires, but anybody with a 401k or who put a little money in the market might actually be building quite a nest egg right now off of this booming market. But all of that economic activity is super concentrated in one little sliver of the economy, AI. And the AI economy is weird because it's a boom that doesn't create any boom towns. Oh. Like the auto industry built entire cities. All of these workers and other businesses that sprang up around the car factory. Before that, there were logging towns and mining towns. And look, I'm not glorifying the past. Like today's San Jose or Seattle exists because of prior rounds of tech companies. But when it comes to AI, you don't get a Detroit, you don't get a San Jose. What you get are this.
Data centers.
For something that is so huge in financial terms, like bigger than every other industry I have mentioned so far, there are very few jobs and very little effect, therefore, on the wider economy. And I'm not saying this to beat up on AI. This thing that's happening is emblematic of the bigger thing going on with the economy. This idea of being two economies right now. A little economy that is doing crazy well, and then another much larger, much weaker economy hiding behind it. But with those two not really touching each other. And this two-track economy thing, it's actually kind of everywhere right now. Like companies are expressing optimism about the economy, but consumers are expressing really severe pessimism. And if you break that number down with that top line showing confidence among people making more than $100,000 a year, you see that the next line for people making less than that used to run about parallel. which makes sense. Both exist in the same economy, so they both respond about the same way in terms of optimism and pessimism. Until a few months ago, when those two lines split, which is really unusual. Actually, hold on a second. That shape looks familiar. Yeah, this.
K shape.
It looks like a letter K. We saw that shape before. It was here, remember? Hiring rate on the bottom, stock market on the top. There it is again, letter K. And it turns out that's what this economy we're in is called, K-shaped. You may have heard this mentioned before. It's a pretty new concept, but it's kind of everywhere right now. An economist named Peter Atwater first used it a few years ago to refer to pandemic lockdowns that caused the fortunes of one group of people to go up and another group of people to go down. Like a K, right? And this is different from just your classic inequality, the rich doing better than the poor. K-shaped economy is when there's a change in the economy that causes two things that were previously in sync to start to diverge, which we see all over the place now. So why is this happening now? Why today? Atwater says that, among other things, it's from all of this inflation, which is hurting some people and is actually helping others, because inflation is making stuff that those people already own, like houses or investments in the stock market.
Because assets keep pace with inflation far better than wages. The fact is, when Jerome Powell says he wants to keep inflation at 2%, have to do that. Like it's not a choice. If you're not at 2%, you're inflating assets outside of where wages can keep, and you get a K.
More and more valuable. But it's not just inflation. It's also all of this stuff, like AI. Remember we said basically the entire economy now is just investing in AI? This, right? Well, there's another K. If you're unlucky enough to work or invest in an industry that is not AI, the dry up in economic activity maybe already feels to you like a recession. Mass government layoffs. Remember, that's 250,000 people who lost their jobs, the savings from which went to pay for tax cuts that just benefited the richest 5%. Another
Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy. Tax. Wait. Are you telling me that if you're in the bottom 95%, you've seen a tax increase? Like, there's no way. I seen a graphic that indicated that recent tax cuts from Trump's big beautiful bill have actually increased taxation on the bottom 95%. Is there any, can you explain more about that? That's what this is saying, right? It doesn't give us a whole lot. That's what I'm taking away from it. Let's see if that's what it's saying. Ooh. The graphic you saw likely comes from analysis by the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy, which examines the combined effects of the One Beautiful Bill signed, and Trump administrative policies, especially the 2025 tariff. What the claim means. The ITEP's recent report argues that in 2026, the bottom 95% of Americans face higher average taxes overall. The top 5, especially the top 1, receive substantial net tax cuts. Oh, like, it doesn't matter how many times you try this. Reducing taxes on the rich doesn't work. Tried again and again and again, and it has never worked. Not once has it made the economy better overall. Like this is not how you do it. And they just keep trying. It's like nobody can learn anything. What is this? Can I like see see this graph they're talking about. This is not because the bill directly raised statutory income tax rates on lower substance earned. Instead, it reflects the net effective tax burden calculation that includes direct tax code changes from OBBBA, offset effects from tariffs, some phase out, tightening eligibility or expiry of certain credit/deduction, interactions with spending side elements, key provisions. I'm not going to read through all that. Why the graphic looks like increased taxation on the bottom 95 baseline compared to current policy elements plus tariffs can appear as relative increase for many. Effective versus statutory. Even if rates didn't rise, higher prices from tariffs plus any loss credits equal higher overall burden. Distribution skews. Bill's biggest dollar and structured benefits flow upwards. Okay, distribution skew. The bill's biggest dollar and structural benefits flow upwards. Low earners get little from rate cuts that they don't fully utilize. Partisan framing, left-leaning sources emphasize the regressive tilt and combined tariffs plus spending effects to highlight inequality. Pro-bill sources stress preventing a massive tax hike from TCJA Express. Understand that. Can I see their where does it say this? Graphic comes from the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy. Can you provide me a link to the graphic that comes from the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy? It shows this. Come on, you can do it. Let's have a look. Okay. Average change as a share of income from Trump's tax policies in 2026. So the effective tax increases. So his policy tax the poorest more. And the wealthier you are, the lower your taxes will be. That's wild. Here we go. This is the exact graph. Average change from Trump's tax policies in 2026. Tax change by income group in the U.S. ITE. Okay. So because the lower income, even if there's a higher tax change, that amount's lower. These are not the numbers you want to see. None of these. That is just bad all across the board.
Another K. And all of this K-shapedness is showing up in other ways too. That AP story from earlier talked about how consumer brands like Coca-Cola are increasingly treating us as operating in just two separate economies. Fancier and fancier stuff for the increasingly well-off, like rich people water and rich people milk, while the rest of us get poverty marketing and low-price mini cans.
Hey everyone, just one last thing. I wanted to tell you all about a new subscriber-only video series I'm really excited about that we're launching at New Press called No Dumb Questions. I have always thought that the best questions, the one that leads you to the biggest surprises and the most interesting stories, aren't the like esoteric, brainy sounding ones. It's the big, broad, like almost childlike, why is this the way it is questions. So every week or two, we are going to post a subscriber only video on New Press, answering a few questions submitted by regular subscribers that do just this. Usually those will be on the news, and sometimes they will be on the broader stories behind the news. And in this week's, which is already up, I'm answering a few.
I can't get over the door. Like, is this just a stained glass door window?
Big questions on the Iran war. Like one that we spent some time on is why has America not been able to win despite all of its military?
It's not a window, right?
Another is why does Iran have the global reputation it has? And is that
freestanding
deserved?
window?
Another, why have they never followed through on building nuclear weapons? And we get into even more than that. To subscribe, follow the link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen to get access to those answers and lots more as part of this new recurring series, plus other subscriber-only features like ad-free videos, behind-the-scenes content, and more.
There's at least several creators that I watch that talk about it, so at some point I'll probably
To see you there.
This widening division between one world at the top of the K and another world at the bottom is what our future looks like if these weights on the job market stay in place. Because this actually all ties back to the labor market, to jobs drying up. The reason it doesn't feel like the economy is in free fall to most people is because a lot of us are doing well. The top half of that K is why, even with all this turmoil, we are not seeing the kind of business closures or mass layoffs that we did in 2008. There's enough activity to keep things basically afloat. But this also means that if you are on the bottom half of that K, as many people are, you might feel forgotten precisely because the wider economy looks sort of okay, so people often talk as if it is. You feel forgotten because nobody seems to be acknowledging what you're experiencing. Still, every week that passes with a stalled labor market, more and more people move from the top part of that K down to the bottom part. Companies are saying they're probably not adding jobs at all this year, so this is going to keep getting slowly, steadily worse. But this is really unhealthy. People who are looking for a job already know that there is a big part of the economy in crisis. In a lot of ways, they see what's coming from more and more people every week. Scarcity, intense competition, declining wages, and long periods of searching without work. And here's the thing, sooner or later, this is everybody. No matter what you do or how you do it, at some point, eventually, you will need to find a job. Maybe that's because you were laid off, or your company closes, or it's just because you have to move cities, or you have the bad luck to be 22 and you're graduating college into this economy. Whatever the reason, given enough time, this is a crisis for all of us.
Some bad luck right there. Anyway, great video. I'm gonna link it. I can do that here. Should show up 3 times. Where's the third one? So, like, let's go back to his chart. What's it a bit? I'm not covering anything important. So, like, all of these things, this circle over here, like, this is all affecting jobs. I would also say that another thing for the interest rates, I said it again, I said it earlier and I'll say it again, the low interest rates led to overhiring. Now the higher interest rates, you see naturally less hiring, but you also see a correction from the overhire. So this one's even bigger than what he's saying. And then the tariffs that feed into the inflation, which forces higher interest rates. And I mean, like, the war in Iran is inflationary. This will lead to higher interest rates, which is just going to make the circle of doom worse. So this whole thing is about to get worse. Hopefully they get this ceasefire signed, but I haven't seen anything about it going well yet. This, like, the fact is, if you don't have this box, the rest of the economy figures it out. If you have this box, then you do have the effect. So when you have a high degree of immigrants or illegal immigrants, reducing that will affect non-immigrant jobs. If you don't have this box, then that's not a problem. The rest of the economy figures itself out. But most places have the box by this point. Canada certainly has the box. And if anything, I think Canada is making the box bigger, from my understanding. Although we did have a net population decrease. I think it was last quarter. Anyway, most of these things can be fixed. But it would take like as he said, Trump has the choice to lower tariffs and try and fix the job market. But I don't see him do it personally. I think probably, at least in the US, he'll have 3 more years of this cycle getting worse. And it's bad after 1 year. Well, have to see how it goes. Things can be fixed. There is more wealth and prosperity out there than ever before. You just have to stop increasing taxes on the poorest and decreasing taxes on the richest people. You want the exact opposite of this if you want to improve the economy. Exact opposite of it. Trump is doing the absolute worst thing you can do to help the economy. All right. Well, I think I'm going to be getting off. Wait. Live.
We heard from Rick earlier.
Are we on the ship yet?
And he said he's going to be out there on the flight deck to
all the helicopters
do
coming back.
Another initial assessment of the crew, ask them how they're feeling. Anything bothering them?
This is where we should
Again,
be putting
from
our
what
money.
I'm seeing, they
Space.
look like they're in great spirits and feeling pretty good.
This is what I like to see.
For folks who just traveled.
Get this moon base built.
695,000 miles from Florida to the moon, and now here to the Pacific Ocean.
Seems like they're doing fine. I'll probably leave that. Great. Well, I'm gonna be getting off. I'll be back on Monday. Might be on the weekend sometime. Just playing games with people. We'll see how it goes. Great. Well, everyone have a good night. Thanks for watching.
We're now seeing NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman walking across the flight deck. He had been talking to Reed